Okay, hey guys, this time you can't see me, you can just see my screen. This is basically because this video is going to help you with different process of coding that you are going to run through with the data that you collected. So that's the idea. Questions of coding. What happened after you have collected the data via interviews, focus group discussions, via field observations, or while collecting archives, is that you've actually collected a huge amount of data. Data is that kind of material that you get when you go out into the field with your research question and you start to collect different kinds of um, things, textual or performative kind of elements that are observable within society or within a single individual. So, as I said, what you collected is data. And in communication theory, there is this differentiation that you usually get between data, information, and knowledge. And it's like you going up some stairs. When you want to come from data to information, you need to run the data through a certain kind of process. If you want to get from information to knowledge, you need once again run a certain kind of process. So here we are actually running the process from data to information. So how can we extract from the data that you collected that might be richer or less rich in depending on the case, longer or more and less in some other cases? How can you get from there information in order to answer your research question? And the answer that Corbin and Strauss have given you within the textbook is by coding. So the question is, how do you code? And I want to give you a short example on the first processes of coding with this brief, very short part or excerpt of an interview that that has been found within the internet. And the question in this case, the research question could, for example, be what kind of emotions do children or did children in China run through during the time of the beginning of the one-child policy, for example? So, especially if there were more than one child within a household, so if there was the case that another child was born, and how did his emotions affect his relationships with his parents and his life in general? That could be a research question that might be behind this kind of interview. So what we are going to do here would be at the first time to find certain kinds of relevant data that help us to answer that research question. So, for example, first thing, I was scared. Could put the fear in here. We have a cause here for being scared. Parents. Could be one element. Or it could also be personal affectedness. For example, my brother and so on and so on. We can here see further anxiously, another emotion, mom. You could put here again family, fear, um, here you would find a man from Fujian that you could either classify an outside threat, here again another emotion, gratefulness, suffering, hunger, and so on and so on. So here you get already some kind of information that might be relevant in order to answer the research question. You find here also repetition of some categories. So for example, here you have being hungry, suffering hunger, or starving. You can find the same kind of category here. So there's more information to the question, to the background information, why people actually abandon their child and why a kid might have understood but at the same time be scared of that kind of possibility. So having said that, that might be the first steps of a more general, very open form of coding. Then in the next step, we start to relate certain categories to each other. And then in a third step, you might create meta categories. Like, for example, you could say anxiously, being scared, being grateful, or emotions related with that kind of experience of being threatened by outside elements. On the one hand, concrete people, like here the man from Fujian, but at the same time also from social effects like hunger and this kind of conflict between the two of them. And then you might find out about the implicit relationship that this person has with another person, depending on what kind of analytical method you use, whether you're working with content analysis or with discourse analysis. The way you're using that category afterwards and the way you relate them to each other and make meaning from them might be different. So whilst with content analysis you might look for how often it's talked about having fear, being scared, talking about hunger, and relating these categories with each other. In discourse analysis you might look behind that kind of emotions, trying to figure out what are the processes that produce them, and so on and so on. In reality, the lines between content analysis and discourse analysis can become kind of blurred. So don't worry if you start with one analytical method and you end up doing something very close to the other one. Just make sure that the way you do your analysis fits more or less with the research question, the general kind of research that you are going to pursue. I'm leaving it here for the moment, and I'm looking forward to your data analysis and to questions, suggestions, and so on. Yeah, you know how to reach out for me, and I'm leaving it here. See you later.